So, Kaia, thank you so much for chatting with us today. I wanted to, first of all, say happy Pride Month and
Happy
congratulations
Pride!
of being the Employee of the Month. So, I just kind of wanted to talk and like kind of elaborate on the story that you shared with us already because, first of all, I just love you and I love your family. I just think it's really amazing that hopefully, we can use this to help encourage other families that look like yours.
That's all I've ever wanted.
Okay, so first question, this is just like me and my brain being totally nosy, you know me. And if you ever feel like you don't want to answer something, that's okay too. How long did you want to be a mom?
Forever.
Forever?
If you were to ask me what I wanted to be when I grow up, I always wanted to be a mom. Like, I've never really had, like, any other, like, driven in desire in me other than being a mom. Like, I've never wanted to have, like, I've never wanted to be, like, a doctor. Like, it's always just been like, I'm gonna be a mom. I always, like, from as young as I could to understand what a mom is, I've always just wanted to be a mom.
I
It's
love that
never been a
so
question.
much. I love that. So, and what, because we said Happy Pride Month, we know that you identify. What is your identification?
I identify as a lesbian. I came out in 2018. I was a sophomore or junior in college. So I was technically a late bloomer. I didn't know from the get-go. And a lot of that kind of really stemmed there was a lot of internal confusion because of that deep desire of, I wanna be a mom. You know, you get the birds and the bees talks and understand, like, how babies are made and things like that, and it wasn't like a conscious knowing of just like, "I don't know if that's gonna work for me," but I did kind of have this, like, internal, kind of, like, hidden part of me was just like, "I kind of feel like I'm going through the motions," like, once I started like getting to that age where people were starting to be attracted to the opposite sex, it just felt fake to me. I did have boyfriends. I had a string of boyfriends growing up, but again, like it just kind of felt like the thing I had to do was everyone else around me was starting to get boyfriends or partners and things like that. So it wasn't really until I came out in college and I had like the freedom to just kind of like express myself and really get comfortable with my own identity without just like fitting it. And once I kind of just like in college, it's the time to do anything. Like you can just
Right?
experiment, figure out what works for you. And that was when I finally was just like, I don't think that this is where how I identify anymore. I think I'm identifying here. And I was very lucky. I've not had any negative reactions. I did not experience anything other than like just love and support. It was a big deal for me, but to everybody around me, it just wasn't. So that was really special for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And we know that there's a lot of different ways to have babies other than the original OG birds and the bees.
Yes.
So what like prompted you to choose the way that you did? And like, did you have any thoughts of IVF or like adoption or things like that?
So I am actually adopted, so that has always been a big part of my story as well. And I think that also plays into a part of why I went the route that I did. I lost my biological mom when I was 2, but I was adopted at 10 days old, so I never got to meet my biological mom, and that really played a big part in my confusion about my identity. And I also think it played a really big portion into like why I really desired to be a mom. Specifically, I really wanted to experience pregnancy. It's like to me, but I mean, before I got pregnant, even now after I've been pregnant, it just seemed like this like magical, incredible experience that not that I didn't get to experience it, but I never like I couldn't have those conversations with the person that was pregnant with me because she's no longer with us. And my adopted mom didn't experience it that way. Not my family growing up is amazing. The love and support. That was the way my family unit was made was through adoption. But I didn't feel like that was going to be my story going forward. I just knew that I did want to experience pregnancy. I wanted to have that biological connection with my child and my offspring. And in terms of like IVF, that was kind of like my first thought. That's like the big kind of overall, I think, way queer couples and the couples who are experiencing infertility. I think that's like the big umbrella. Like if
Mm,
you want to get pregnant but need assistance, like that's kind of the way to go. The way I went about becoming a mom is I didn't and IVF is very complex. There's a
yeah,
lot of medication, there's a lot of testing, there's
expensive.
outpatient procedures, it's very expensive. It's usually not covered if you don't have like an underlying fertility. Mm, I think it's like a lot of insurances, I think you need to be experiencing up to a year of, if you're trying naturally, I think it has to be like up to a year of not conceiving before you can even be considered to have it covered by insurance. So I just kind of was like, okay, that is very steep. That's a very like big jump. Is there anything that I can do kind of to get me to that spot without going all the way there? So I did a lot of research when I was in my mid 20s and was really starting to think like this is the path I'm going, and I'm an adult now, I'm out of college, I have a career, this is the route I'm going. A lot of people know about surrogacy and donors. So I went through the route of finding an anonymous donor. And when I say anonymous, they don't know me. And I have basically like a profile of the donor's information, but there was never any, like, there's never been any communication between us or anything like that. It was all dealt with through a bank. So I went that route. And because I don't have PCOS or any real underlying fertility issues, from the research and through working with my doctor, my primary care, OBGYN, there was really no indication that I couldn't get pregnant on my own. So I used a really cool device. It's called Mosey Baby. It's basically what people think turkey baster method, but it's a little bit more clinical than that. It's basically just a syringe, and you order the donor sample and time things like you would during natural conception with ovulation windows and tests and things like that. And after 3 months of tries, I conceived my daughter in September of 2022.
Okay, so this is gonna get like, because I'm just nosy. I told you this already, and if you don't want to answer this, you don't have to.
Yes.
So, like with ovulation, it can last anywhere from like 24 hours to like sometimes even a full week. So, are you like
Yes.
trying, when I say trying, like inserting the donor into you like for a full week for 3 months?
No, so that's kind of where it also kind of falls in, and that there's a big pressure of timing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I basically would track every single day, like, with the little tiny strips of
Yep.
ovulate, from minus when I was, like, actually actively bleeding or whatnot, but going if I knew I was trying that month, I would take ovulation strips basically throughout the entire month, multiple times a day when I started to get kind of comfortable with where my natural cycle was and kind of having an understand. And I did leading up to trying, I had been tracking for probably upwards of a year, just so without even bringing in any samples or anything like that, just to really get a good reading of my body and my fertility and kind of get like a track of where I was or where I was ovulating around what time of the month. So during the couple attempts that I did, there you can purchase different sample amounts. So I think the first two times, or maybe the first time, I only purchased one sample at a time, and then I think the remaining two I purchased two samples.
Mm-hmm.
So with those attempts, I would track my ovulation or track when I was starting to get my peak. And I would typically insert once, and like in the morning, and then either 24 hours, or it was a lot of timing. Like, that's like
Yeah.
the biggest, like, it was all about timing, because frozen sperm does not last as long as fresh sperm. So that also brings the window even
Yeah.
smaller down. So it was really just a matter of trial and error, just like kind of naturally conceiving. But I do know that the time that I did conceive my daughter, it was two attempts, and I think it was once in the morning and then once the following day.
Cool. Okay, that's so awesome. So you said it's frozen sperm. So do you like, this is so embarrassing. Do you put it in the microwave or something? Like, how do
No,
you warm it up?
it's not embarrassing at all. Like, this is all just like, this is my story, and I'm so proud of it.
You should be.
It comes in a frozen shipper ice,
Okay.
dry ice shipping box, and you're supposed to take it out about 30 minutes before you use it and
Okay.
just put it on the counter, let it thaw, and then with the syringe, it comes with a little collection cup, and you just take it up, do
That's
what you need to do,
cool.
and
Yeah.
hurry up and wait.
Yeah. Isn't that so true? I mean, gosh, that's like, I feel like for every mom, it's just hurry up and wait.
Yes, hooray, and then it's just a matter of, okay, like, symptom
Yeah.
tracking, all the
Yeah.
things, like, really, that's the only thing different about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you have a partner at the time when you were trying to get pregnant?
Did. I was married at the time that I was going through this process. I am unfortunately no longer married, and that marriage did not last. But I knew deep down that motherhood was always for me. Unfortunately, my spouse and I were not on the same page,
I was about to ask.
which was something I did not know.
Yeah.
But at that point, it was not that it was too late, but my daughter was conceived and there wasn't any question of whether I was going to do it or not.
Yeah.
It was happening.
Yeah.
So I actually got divorced while I was pregnant and
Ah,
became a single mom all in the matter of 9 months. But like I said, I'm not embarrassed of anything. My story is my story, and I wouldn't change anything because my daughter is literally the best kid in the world. I know every mom says
easy.
that, but and every mom's correct, but I'm extra.
I will say she's the cutest, so,
Is She is. She just it's crazy that she just turned 2 this week, and it's like it's just been I don't know where I did not expect any of what has happened 2 years ago to be where it is today. So it is just so it's such an honor for me to be able to talk about it. A lot of conception content or resources out there really do kind of revolve around the IVF or surrogacy world, which can be just really expensive and not plausible for many families. And I just want to be able to share my story and just share that it's possible.
That. All right. So, since I'm an IBCLC, I'm going to ask about the boobs too. Did you and your partner, before we realized that this was not going to happen, did you guys have any conversations about whether they were going to also lactate and try to feed the baby?
We talked about it a little bit. I think again, the circumstances that happened, I was definitely more interested in it than my partner was at the time for obvious reasons, but it was something that I was really looking forward to learning more about. But then when circumstances changed, I just kind of dropped it cuz it ended up just being me and I was more focused on my lactating journey.
Absolutely.
But I do think I follow a couple. They're twins, I think are probably maybe a year older than Sapphire, and they went through that process. I think the biological the biological mother, the one whose eggs was used, she was not the one who carried. Her partner was ended up, so I think they did reciprocal IVF, but the partner who was not experiencing the pregnancy also induced lactation. So that has been really cool
That is
to
so cool.
see and to learn about because I think that's
Yeah.
just a really cool way that the non-gestational parent can really connect with
Be
the baby.
involved. Yeah, I love that. Okay, so is there anything that you would want people to know about your experience that you wish you would have known at the time?
I just want, and I think I've said this before, is that there's no perfect blueprint on how to make your family. And this goes to anyone, like not even just the LGBTQ and queer communities. There's no perfect time to have a baby. Just if that's something that's on your soul, there doesn't have to be like this perfect blueprint. I know I have friends right now who are around, I mean, I'm almost 30. I had my daughter at 27, and I have friends who are coming up on their 30s who feel like they're behind because they don't have a partner or they are not married or they thought they'd have kids by now. I like if that was some like and during my personal circumstances there was a lot of like confusion of like okay, how could I have done this when, my marriage is falling apart, and like looking back on it now, everything happened as the way it should be. And I do think that there's kind of a rise on families, family structures changing. A lot of families have grandparents involved, aunts and uncles. There's no perfect way to make your family. It really just has to be rooted in love and, respect for yourself and your journey. And that's what I plan on telling my daughter when, she's old enough to, be like, hey, like, because I know she's gonna have those questions because I had those questions because, I was adopted and I don't look like my parents.
Yeah.
So I don't ever want my daughter to feel like there's any missing piece or things were done incorrectly. Like our family is perfect the way it is. And, however way that goes and however that's how people make their families, it's perfect to each and every one. So I just wish, more people would just feel like they don't have to make their family look a certain way or make it a certain way. Adoption is a great, fostering. I have other friends who are fostering. There's no perfect way to make a family, so that's what I would say.
I love that so much. Okay, so looking to the future, are you thinking of having any more babies?
I do. I don't think I'm done having kids. However, I
Yeah.
am not planning on having any more right now.
Amen, sister.
Before I became a mom, I think I was in that mindset of like, I'm gonna have them back to back. I want them close in age. I want them to have, to grow, grow up closer. My brother and I are 19 months apart, so I grew up with a sibling close in age.
Yeah.
But then I went through what I went through and became a single mom, and that kind of threw a wrench in the plans. And now with my daughter being 2, she is just now getting to a point where she's getting a lot more independence, and like I'm just really enjoying the sweet spot of where she is in toddlerhood, and I'm really excited to see kind of who she turns into as a kid as she's like gaining more words and like the communication is there. And this is no judgment to anybody, like I couldn't imagine just bringing in another baby or an infant or anyone and then having to direct all that. Like I don't want to miss a thing with my kids.
Yeah.
So I am team big age gap. I think once my daughter is older and I'm in a more stable position to bring in another baby, maybe 1 or 2 more, but not anytime soon.
Yeah. Yeah. And is that a conversation that you've had with your partner too of whether they're interested in, because you have a
Yes,
new partner,
yes.
right?
I think my partner could have their way. We would already have another baby, but they're also not the one who would be carrying. So like that's a whole other
It
conversation. But
is. Yeah.
I think we're both on the same page with that. Our daughter is just like, she's so much fun, and like her attention is so like, it's just so cool to see how much she's developing. And for us to be able to pour into her right now as much as we are, I don't think we could do that as efficiently if we had another baby right now. And I think we're both on the same page of that. But there will probably be more in the future. Think about, I was always told that to know whether or not you're done, you have to think about like 50 years in the future, and you think about your Thanksgiving table and like who do you see there? How many chairs are there? And like when I think of that, I don't see my daughter just sitting there alone. Like I do think she will have a sibling. I don't, maybe 1 or 2, but I think that's a really good analogy for like deciding whether or not you want more. And as I get old, like I'm almost 30, like I don't have that fear of like being too old. Toddlers are a lot of work, so I would rather really be able to be present and enjoy it. And then if 1 or more comes the way, or if not, like I feel like I'm very open to either
Yeah.
or. I would like to have more, but again, it's just kind of what happens. So again, there's no perfect way to make a family.
I love that. I love that so much. All right, Kaya, this has been amazing. And I'm so glad that you were able to share your story during this month.
Thank
And
you for letting me share. It was awesome, and happy Pride.
yeah, happy Pride Month.